everybody.
Hello!
Woo! We're here again. Thank you for joining us at Showbiz Lowdown. I am Alisha Soto Lewis.
I'm Stephanie Stivers.
And I'm Jason Vines.
Woo! So we have a very special guest here. Before we talk about what you do, how do you guys know each other?
We were members of the same acting agency in San Antonio about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, and I met you because you worked in the office there, and we took some acting classes together, and we survived that whole ordeal together.
We did.
Yeah.
You also were in a movie that I wrote
That's
that was
right.
never fully made.
It's okay. I've been.
But you were amazing in it.
Oh, thank you.
And I do have bloopers somewhere of that, but
I can't wait to see those because I
they
don't
were-
even remember what we did at all. That was a long time.
it was a long time ago. But yeah, that was a long time. It was a long time ago.
Well, I'm happy that we're here.
But we look exactly the same.
Yeah, haven't changed a bit.
Haven't changed a bit.
That's good. Awesome. So what do you do?
I'm a special effects makeup artist. I do practical effects. I build props. I do costumes. I do prosthetic makeup. Very good at making people ugly.
Okay.
Not so much the beauty makeup side of things.
Very nice.
So I can make you drag queen to zombie, but if you want something really pretty, I'm probably not your guy for that.
That's fine. Well, we're done.
All right. Well, thanks anyway.
Anyways, sorry guys.
Good.
That's really cool though. When you started doing it, I was really excited.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I kind of got tired of waiting on the phone to ring as an actor, and I kept making stuff on my own. I just started doing stuff for Halloween, and I would post pictures of it online, and people would ask me, hey, can you do my makeup too? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then I got a call one day. I was like, can you make about 40 zombies in 2 hours? I was like, sure. I had no idea how to do it, but I did. I brought an assistant along with me, and we went to like craft services, and we're crumbling up Doritos and Oreos and putting latex on people's face and mashing all the stuff in and then painting it up. And they were hideous zombies, but it worked for what we were doing. But yeah, I just started getting more and more calls to do effects work, and finally decided as an actor, it was like, I need to really answer this opportunity that keeps knocking. And ever since I made that switch, I've been working much more steadily and just improving my skills and having a good time.
So cool.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he's super cool and really interesting.
Yeah.
I try.
He's an interesting
Well, that
human.
takes me to that networking thing. It's all about networking.
It is.
I talk about it a lot. On my page, I'm always like, network, it's good to network, it's good to network. Because it is, but you probably wouldn't be where you were or where you are if you didn't start networking a little. Nobody would have called you for the zombies.
That's exactly true. So the way I got that is I do a lot of improv comedy.
Yes, you do.
And I know tons and tons of people in the local scene that do it. And a lot of improvisers are also actors. Actors meet directors. Directors talk to the actors. Hey, do you know anybody that can do blah, blah, blah?
Yes.
And one of my improviser friends is the one who recommended me for like my very first gig.
Fantastic.
And that gig led to the next, which led to the next, and so on and so forth. So yeah, the people that you meet can definitely influence like the path you take.
Absolutely.
When people are getting started out in this business, I tell them there's basically 3 rules you have to follow. One is show up on time.
Yes.
The second is do your job to the best of your ability. And 3, don't be a dick. If you do all those 3 things, you get more work. It's just that simple.
That's true.
I say don't be that guy.
Yes.
From where you are right now, you've come a long way. Where do you want to be? Like, what's your dream?
So I have
goal?
this. A goal that I've had ever since I started is I want to create and design a character that little kids end up dressing up as for Halloween.
Yes.
Like if a little 5-year-old shows up at my door, trick or treat, and I open the door and there's a character that I made like for a movie or as an action figure or whatever it is. I mean, then I'd be like, look, Ma, I made it. Little
That's
kids are dressing up.
awesome.
That is the cutest answer I've ever heard in my life.
So what kind of projects have you worked on?
I've worked on all kinds of things. A lot of film stuff mostly. I've done a ton of zombies. I've made crazy like weapons, like foam weapons, big props, like from like giant swords to more like realistic knives and hammers and things like that. I've done Halloween makeup galore. I've made masks that people use while they're on stage, like they're in a band or something. I've made improv trance masks, which are just half masks that you can, you can see your bottom jaw and talk in them and everything. And I'm creating my own things right now. My goal at the moment, short term, is to make things that are repeatable, that I can sell for a lower cost. Because I make a lot of things that is just a one-off. I'll sculpt a little creature or monster, and if I want to sell it, it took me 150 hours to do it. I'm not going to sell that for 20 bucks.
Right.
But something that takes me 15 minutes to crank out, I can. So I'm trying to find things that are repeatable now, but I still want to keep doing, my monsters and masks and weapons and props and makeups and everything.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, because I'm writing this new project, so like everything you're saying is like stuff that I need. So I'm just like,
Networking.
Yeah, it's fine.
Working right here.
Yes. Well, I will say, so when you're starting a project, and there are probably other writers that are out there watching this right now, a good thing to keep in mind is that these things that you're writing that come out of your brain don't just happen at the snap of a finger.
Yeah.
Don't make finding your effects artists or your prop maker or whatever an afterthought. Start that very early in the process. I would say even if you have a first draft of a script, that's the time you need to start seeking people out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but they need a heads up. Hey, what am I going to be making?
The style and stuff.
Well, the style, and just to give them time to wrap their head around it, because almost every project I do, there's at least one element, sometimes the entire thing, is something I've never done before. I have to build things 3 times sometimes before you get it right. And often what happens is like a writer / director, producer, or whatever will have a script, and they've talked to all their actors, and they've got the catering taken care of, and then they're like, oh crap, we need 500 dead bodies. Who are we going to get to do that? And we shoot next week. So
oh my gosh.
Which is how you got started.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
Exactly. So very often I get the call at the last second to have to rush things and put them together, which I am good at. But if there's a big difference between a 5-minute zombie and a 3-hour zombie,
Right.
if I have the time to put those subtle nuances and everything, your picture will be better for it. So the earlier you bring someone like me into the picture, the better. Because then you also have a collaborator. If you're like, I've got 20 different deaths in this, but I'm just running out of ways to creatively kill people, I've got a billion ideas. And I'm happy to collaborate on those things. Filmmaking is one of the most collaborative art forms there is. So, but the earlier you bring other artists in, the better. And also it helps if you have a budget.
Yes.
It's starting out. It's very, very difficult. But given time and money would be amazing. If you don't have a lot of money, give me more time. If you don't have a lot of time, you got to give me more money.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So, what would you recommend for somebody who maybe doesn't know this is what they want to do, but has always had some sort of interest, and maybe they should try doing this? What would you recommend would be a way to even get started? What would you tell that person?
Well, I got started small. If you want to learn how to sculpt, there are a ton of YouTube tutorials out there for free. Or, actually I have to be wearing the shirt. You can go to the Stan Winston School of Character Arts. This is an online school where there's a ton of professionals that are teaching you how to do things like sculpt and paint, how to use an airbrush, how to clean an airbrush, how to fabricate monster suits, how to build miniature cities, how to do stop motion animation. You name it, they've got videos for it. And it's not just some dude who's tinkering around in his garage. These are the guys that did like Predator and Aliens and
so it's a master class for
effects artists.
Yeah.
And they really cover a wide spectrum of things. So you start on YouTube if you're looking for the stuff for free and cheaper, but if you really want to get serious about it, go to Stan Winston School. And I literally would watch them do something, try and copy it, and go from there, and you start learning techniques and how the tools work, and then you can start just building on that. But my very first sculpture was me literally taking a scrap piece of wood, drilling a hole in it. I put a piece of wire in it, twisted it up in a weird shape, and then slapped clay on it until it looked like a face. And it's very crude and just silly looking, but that was my first sculpture, and it was like, that looks cool, let's try another one. And you know, so for very low cost of entry, you can get started on something like sculpting. A lot of people have art supplies already laying around their house, like you know, acrylic paints and stuff like that. You can start, you know, learning how to use the tools without, you know, going whole hog into like, okay, now I have to create a prosthetic. It's like, you got to do baby steps.
Yeah.
But if you want to get started in this discipline, or in writing or directing or anything, just do it. Just start. Make a crappy first draft. Set out to write something terrible. Set out to make something ugly. Because the perfect thing you make today, you're going to hate a year from now. So what's better than perfect is done. Finish a project. Take something all the way to the end, and that's how you're going to learn. And then you're going to see all the mistakes you made, how 100 ways I could do it better, so on and so forth.
Perfect.
Accurate.
Yeah. You want to talk?
I want to see your studio.
I want to see the studio.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Let's go see the studio, guys. You want to go? Let's go.
Let's
right
go.
Now. Let's go.
And we're off.
Yes.
Here we go.
The long walk down the hall. Now, at night they turn off all the lights here, and it's really creepy.
Yeah, I bet. So this place used to be a what?
Juvenile detention center.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah, it's not terrifying.
So, yeah, a friend of mine bought it, turned it into it. It's called Mosaic Sound Collective. Look it up. It's really cool.
Super cool.
There's tons of different musicians, and, screen printers, and vinyl record pressing, and recording studios.
That artwork, yeah.
These are the clay versions of the, I'm making refrigerator magnets, basically. So I just sculpted these little guys. They all have marbles for eyes. Unfortunately, most of the stuff I make, I don't get to keep. So
I was going to say, I was like, do you have a favorite piece that you just like...
Oh, I do,
can't?
but I mean, I can show you a picture of it, but I sold it. So
Aw.
it's not here, but I'll show it to you. Here's the picture. It's kind of buried, but I'll get it up. And I actually sold it to my sister.
Oh, well, at least it's in the family.
Yeah, so I get to visit him. That's true. But yeah, this is Sir Wallace.
Yes, I remember.
This is him.
Wow.
And this picture kind of is deceiving because he looks huge, but he's about the size of a small chicken.
So how do you technically make one of these molds?
I can show you guys an example of that here if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, because it actually looks kind of cool. Everything I own has either fake blood, latex, resin, or silicone on it. I mean, take a look at my shoes, for Christ's sake. I mean, it gets everywhere. When you are pouring these, there's one thing to keep an eye out for. Well, several things, but with experience, you start learning different things. Air bubbles are not your friend. So I just have a little piece of wire here that's going to come into play in just a second. So I've got my cup, stir stick, and my Dixie cups here. The Dixie cups are just to kind of measure out the material. So we've got part A and part B. It doesn't really matter which one you start with. So pour out a cup there.
Part B, this is part A.
Mm-hmm. You can also add tints to these. Some of the ones that I poured up are gray. This particular plastic cures a bright white, so any color you add to it will also have white added to it. So it'll be, if you add black, it'll be gray. If you add blue, it'll be like a little baby blue or whatever. And I thought I wanted them all to be gray, but the problem I ran into, and you'll see this in a second, is it's really hard to see the air bubbles and get them out because it's opaque. It'll be solid black when you pour it, but then when it kicks off, that's when the white comes into play. So I wasn't able to see where the bubbles were, and I stopped doing that because the way I paint them anyway, it's like kind of like them to start out as white. So then I'm just going to take these pour them into a larger cup.
And are these expensive, the Part B and Part A?
Depends on which material you're getting. Like the gallon kit for the plastic is about $100. If I were to buy a gallon kit of the silicone, it's about $250. So yeah, silicone is definitely expensive. I think it was about $45 for this pint kit, but I was able to make all 5 of these molds with one kit and still have enough to make another small mold if I wanted to.
Perfect.
So, got my parts mixed. I'm just going to give it a good stir. You have about 2 minutes or so of working time here, which is not very long, but it's long enough. And then once I get these poured in here, you want to focus on the top of these to watch it kick off. Okay, so I've got it mixed up. Just going to pour it in. It also starts heating up. It gives off an exothermic reaction, which means it gives off heat. So you want to get this poured in here well before it kicks off, because it can get real hot and it also doesn't want to flow. So it fills all these up, and then I'll fill this one up just partially, so we don't waste any. And then take this little guy, and I already know the trouble spots in here, so I'm just going to kind of run it along inside here to dislodge any bubbles that might be in there. Usually one in this tooth. Got that guy out around the nostrils.
And that's just from doing it before. That
Yeah,
you know
you
where
start
it
to
is.
learn your molds and learn how the pieces come out of it. And
It's all about
you can
trial, right?
just keep an eye on these guys, and just a few seconds here, it'll kick off, and it goes pretty fast when it does.
I'm so excited.
Another bubble dislodge. The bubbles at the top I'm not too worried about. It's more on the surface.
Gotcha. Very cool.
There it goes.
Oh wow.
And that's it. Now, the instructions say to let this sit for 15 minutes. I've been demolding it probably around 6 or 7 minutes. And they come out just fine. They're just a little warm when you pull them out first. The thicker parts of the resin always kick first. You can see right here, there's a little bit that ran over the side. Once that thin part is cured, that means the whole thing is good to go. So, and then I'll break off. This is called flashing. I'll just take that off either with an X-Acto knife, or you can even use sandpaper to get it off. But then you just let them set and pop them out of the mold, and they come out just like this. And they pick up the tiniest microscopic detail. Like, it's might even be hard to see here, but that you can see like part of my fingerprint is still in the clay, or that it showed up in the mold.
Let me see if I can get it. Wow.
So it'll pick up the tiniest little details. But there you go. That's how you
That's really,
pour up resin pieces, and then you
it's
just
very scientific. I don't
Yes,
know if
it
I can
is.
handle it.
yes. Well, that's part of being an effects artist. You got to be part chemist, part physicist, part artist, part performer sometimes, because you make puppets or creature suits. Often you're asked to perform in them as well.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Really?
yeah, it's something completely different every time, which is why I love it. It's definitely not a boring type of job, because it can get monotonous. Like if I plan on making 100 of these just to start with, and that can get a little repetitive
Right.
and everything. But going from job to job, it just changes every time.
Super fun.
Super fun.
Awesome.
Super
Thank you
interesting.
very much.
I learned a lot.
Thank you.
Hope
A
you guys
lot.
learned a lot too.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank
And
you.
don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, because we're bringing you really cool people.
Super cool.
Super cool. You're going to learn some things.
And if you have questions, let us know. We can always get with you and
Sure.
answer those questions.
Yep.
And I don't know.
Yeah, and if you need any crazy monsters, look me up.
We'll put his information below.
Or
Okay.
do you want to say do you have a handle of some sort, Instagram or?
I do. It's Vine311, VINE 311. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram under that.
There you go.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you.
Yay. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye.